Hey kids, it's Joe Grotesque and you're listening to The Thought Process. This is part one in an experiment I'd like to try out. I'm kind of returning to my roots, so to speak. As a 9-year-old kid, I would sit around with a dictaphone tape recorder and just record my own little sketches or shows or write songs to keep myself entertained because, let's face it, I've always been a loner. And I've always had terrible bouts with social anxiety and the whole thing of fitting in. Anyway, so I'm basically using this as an opportunity for you guys to get to know the real me, as I feel that on the Retro Cynical episodes, I'm obviously me, but I don't really get to express myself in the way that I would in normal conversation. So, if you've ever wanted to know more about me, this would be the place to be. If that doesn't sound like it interests you, then I suggest moving on to another YouTube video right now. Now, I by no means want to present this as a podcast, even though it does kind of have that podcast flavor. I don't really have the time to do a proper podcast. But who knows, maybe this will develop into something much larger. But for me, YouTube has just been a continuation of what I've always done as a kid. It's just another creative outlet for me, and it's filled a tremendous void over the past several years, because some of you may not know that I'm a musician of sorts. I've been in bands ever since I was in high school, but I was in a band called A Vision Grotesque for the better part of 11 years. Become the conscious one, the pit is not gone. Sweet sun, endless masquerade. Vanquish the fire in this masquerade. Is where my last name comes from. Yes, Grotesque is not my real last name, if you haven't already figured that out. But it's because I was the frontman of a band called A Vision Grotesque. After the band kind of parted ways or went on a tremendous hiatus, it sort of left me in a dark space. I didn't really have a way to get rid of the animosity that was really bothering me, that was easily let go through guttural screams in my band. So yeah, Retro Cynical has definitely become my new band for the most part, even though I will say that there are some talks of my band maybe releasing another record, though that's not totally organized just yet. So I want to use this as kind of a platform to also talk about games. I don't want to stray too far away from what the show's been about, but this is more of a niche kind of video edition that I'm doing because, I know there's probably some of you that want to hear the sound of my voice. Maybe it turns you on. Maybe it helps you go to sleep. Who knows? Yeah, I basically just want to shoot from the hip and talk about whatever. So yeah, I'll definitely be talking about games because I'm very opinionated when it comes to the whole scene of video games right now. Let me just give you an example. First and foremost, I'm a college dropout. I went to school to be an animator. And a lot of our courses in the animation program were kind of targeted towards the development of video games. So I had to learn Autodesk Maya, the 3D rendering program. That's a huge part of modern game design. So I realize it's incredibly difficult, and it takes some very, very, very talented people to put together a lot of the modern games that come out now. And there's some very genius people in the gaming industry right now. So that being said, there are modern games that I love. I can see merit in pretty much all modern games, from the developmental process and the art that goes in behind it. So when I say something negative about the modern gaming industry, I'm not knocking on any of those people. that create them. I realize that it's man's natural intention to progress, to make things better. And modern games are better in the eyes of a lot of people, and the younger generation especially. But perhaps I'm a bit cynical about it all because of the time I was born. I literally came out in America about the same time as Donkey Kong, the same month, the same year. And that's kind of what I grew up into, is Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Atari 2600 games, which at the time, I was probably about 3 years old the first time I attempted to play a video game, and it was Atari 2600, and I believe Pitfall and Freeway were the only games we had. You know, they really blew my mind back then, and just all the marketing behind it, the Donkey Kong cereal, all of the toys, and especially Pac-Man probably had more than anything. There were Pac-Man songs that were hit songs, for Christ's sake. So yeah, I think it's kind of deep-rooted in that, and spending a lot of time in arcades. I spent about 60% of my childhood in a bowling alley because my grandmother worked at one, and I would have to go there after school sometimes, and I'd have to stay there on the weekends. And so I was constantly exposed to arcade games and pinball machines. So what is it about retro games I find so appealing? I would say it's their simplicity and their complexity. It's almost a paradox, because graphically they're obviously a lot more simplistic than modern games, but I think there's still that same amount of creativity. And older games force you to use your imagination. That's something I was all about when I was a kid, was using my imagination. So, you know, playing a game, even like Super Mario Brothers, as simple as the graphics are, you can totally immerse yourself in it and kind of visualize what all those bad guys would look like in real life. And, you know, all the perils that Mario faced, you could kind of see them in your mind from first-person perspective. Anyway, I'd say that's a pretty good starting point. Anybody that's watching this, feel free to comment on anything I've talked about. I'd really like to know you guys' thoughts. I know a lot of you guys are retro gamers, or at least play retro games on occasion. And, you know, your opinion might be totally different than mine, and that's fine. That's what makes us human beings, and that's what makes the world awesome. So I'm going to end things here for now and see what you guys think about everything, and maybe I'll do another one of these really, really soon. Maybe not. Either way, thanks for listening, especially if you're listening right now at the end. Bless your little heart. Just so this isn't a total waste, I'm working on this season finale of Season 8 of Retro Cynical right now. I'm hoping you guys are really going to like it. I'm trying to go the extra mile with it, take some time with it. Even if it comes to me doing like a little update video or something in between time just to keep content flowing, I'll do that. But I will give you a hint. It's a top 5, which I know most of you guys like, because that's really the only videos that I do that get a decent amount of views these days. And I'm fine with that. I enjoy doing them. Anyway, I'm off to bed now. Thanks for listening, and take care.